Good morning. It's September 13th, and this is To My Little Friends. Well, who really won the debate? Now, as I watched it, I gave Kamala Harris a resounding win on style. On actual policy and answering questions, it was pretty much a draw. The media pundits all piled on and said Harris won the debate hands down, and they expressed their unmuted joy in declaring Trump the loser and Harris the winner. But from my viewpoint, it was obvious that Harris had sufficiently prepped for the debate and was not about to do a repeat of Joe Biden's miserable performance. She had memorized her responses, and in true debate tactics, she ignored the questions and simply moved right into her talking points. Trump, on the other hand, seemed to believe he could simply wing it, and based on the debate with Biden in June, he felt he did not need any real preparation. The result was that the voting public never got to hear real answers from the two candidates, and Trump spent much of the night reacting to Harris taunting him. We'll get a clearer picture of who won the debate when we see polling data at the end of September. The real swing and miss came right out of the box from Harris. David Muir from ABC asked the most obvious question: are you better off than you were 4 years ago? This is the question that is most important to a large number of voters, and Harris dodged the question because the polling data says the public does not think so, and she was trying to put some distance between her and Joe Biden. But this is the exact issue the voters may decide the election come November. That question will not matter to the base elements of both candidates. The far right's locked in and the far left is locked in for Harris, no matter what the issues are. But to the moderates and independents, this question is important. For that reason, pollsters immediately began trying to gauge what this group of voters thought. Well, Reuters interviewed 10 swing voters after the event and gave the story an intriguing headline, quote, "Some undecided voters not convinced by Harris after debate with Trump," end quote. Well, that's one way to put it. Quote, 6 said afterward they would now either vote for Trump or were leaning toward backing him. The piece explains 1 remained undecided, 3 said they backed Ms. Harris. A New York Times interview of 8 undecided voters after debate found 2 leaning toward Mr. Trump, 1 toward Ms. Harris, and the rest extremely confused. Similar results from CNN, BBC, and the Wall Street Journal interviews showed uncommitted voters with similar mixed results. Well, Donald Trump raised the issue again in his closing statement, and polling shows that the comment did resonate with voters. Kamala Harris continued in her closing to push her economic plan, which was taken apart as simply more government funding and handouts to people, thus increasing the national debt, and no explanation of where that money will come from. Now, there's a sub-issue that's still in the campaign. Donald Trump is not a likable person, and Harris hammered away at Trump's personality, something that has some serious question marks about it. But as I've told friends, I'm not voting for my minister. I'm voting for someone that will enact policies that will affect my life in a positive manner and hopefully make things better for my children and grandchildren. Spending trillions of dollars on feel-good handouts will only make the very people Harris is professing to help suffer in the long run when the piper comes calling to pay that massive debt. In the Reuters polls that I mentioned earlier, 6 of the Trump converts admitted they did not like him personally, but said their financial position was better off when he was president. One 34-year-old black woman from Milwaukee told the New York Times that she was moving towards Trump because, quote, "when Trump was in office, not gonna lie, I was living way better. I've never been so down in the past 4 years," end quote. That type of response was borne out in other polls. Ms. Harris standing with working class votes is the worst of any Democrat in modern history. Barack Obama lost the white working class by 20 points in 2012. Joe Biden by 26 in 2020. The most recent Times poll has Ms. Harris behind by 36. That number has barely budged since July, despite 5 weeks of joy. All unchanged. Ms. Harris is winning among non-white voters without a college degree by 30 points, but Mr. Obama's margin was 67. She's losing voters 45 and older. She's behind among male voters by a notably wider margin than she is with women. And 41% of Hispanics say they back Mr. Trump, and that's a big number. Both candidates have a lot of ground to make up in the next 7 weeks. Trump needs to become more disciplined and stop the personal attacks on political opponents. He needs to stop harping about the 2020 election. It's over. It's history. Harris needs to start talking to the press and explaining her positions in detail. When she says, which she inevitably will, that she wants the wealthy to pay their fair share, she should be asked, what exactly does she mean by that statement? According to the IRS, The top 10% of earners pay almost 80% of the federal income taxes. Going even further, the top 1% of earners paid 46% of the federal income taxes. Finally, the top 50% of taxpayers paid 97.7% of the taxes, while the bottom 50% paid 2.3%. And you can bet that Harris does not want to mention those numbers. So when she says, hey, I want someone to pay their fair share, you should be asking, what do you mean by that? What exactly is a fair share? This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.